Here is a list of every major roller coaster that will be closing within the next year. First, we have Crazy Cobra located at Discoveryland in Dalian, China. This Premier Rides launched roller coaster has been operating at its current home since 2006, but this was not its original opening year. On March 21st, 1998, Mad Cobra opened to Suzuka Circuit parkgoers in Japan, being the third of 5 eerily similar additions to the Catapult launch coaster model. This ride uses a magnetic propulsion method called linear induction motors to shoot riders to max speeds of 60 miles per hour in seconds before warping through twists, turns, and 4 inversions, all culminating into a giant spaghetti bowl of coaster track. However, just 5 years after opening at Suzuka Circuit, the park shipped it off to the Jinzhou province of China, where it reopened 3 years later at Discoveryland. Despite standing but not operating from 2016 to 2018 and being overhauled in 2021, Crazy Cobra has had a quite prosperous service life. However, that time will most likely be up soon, as this attraction will close before the end of 2026. Now, some more knowledgeable watchers of the amusement scene will point to this coaster and many other Chinese coasters and identify the cause of the closure as the so-called 20-year rule. This is an alleged governmental regulation put in place to limit all roller coaster service lives to no more than 2 decades. While there are almost no major Chinese coasters that debuted before 2000 that have not been removed or relocated, the 20-year rule likely does not exist. Here's why, as well as what is the more probable reason for Crazy Cobra's shutdown. Roller coasters are subject to strict regulation and legislation, no matter their home park or country. One of the most common regulations is set forth by the ride's manufacturer, and that is the recommended service life. The recommended service life is how long a coaster should operate before requiring relocation, modification, or demolition. While China does take safety of their amusement facilities very seriously, as shown by the documents of the national standard they use, the only mention of a ride service life is in the context of risk assessment and signposting. Oftentimes, when you visit a Chinese amusement park, you are bound to see signs that state the general facts about their major roller coasters in the queue line. These signs are quite unique because they show the manufacturer-instituted service time for the trains and the structure itself. Now, there are multiple examples such as Beyond the Cloud at Suzu Amusement Land that disprove the 20-year rule being a national law, with the signs posting ride service expiration to be 25 years. Additionally, for every coaster, the Chinese government considers and monitors the equipment used, the personnel hired, and the terrain built on throughout installation to operation to destruction. Overall, there is no written evidence documenting a universal 20-year rule being implemented by the Chinese government, but rather it is a conspiracy byproduct of the average park often choosing not to pour money into their attractions anymore once their service time expires. Furthermore, Crazy Cobra has simply reached the end of its recommended service life, and China's stricter regulations on amusement ride safety suggest that Discoveryland will decide against significantly modifying the ride to extend that time. On the bright side, a second relocation is still in the cards for this ride, but I believe this is the attraction's only chance at survival. The second coaster on this list is easily the most well-known and iconic one. It's Rock 'n' Roller Coaster at Walt Disney's Hollywood Studios. Now, before everyone watching this video has a collective heart attack, this ride will not be gone forever. Disney's Hollywood Studios is simply taking notes from Busch Gardens Williamsburg and King's Dominion equally, as they are renovating this ride into Rock 'n' Roller Coaster starring the Muppets. For those who don't know, Disney's headlining attraction has been operating since 1999, featuring an action-slammed experience from entrance to exit, themed around the iconic rock band of the late 20th century, Aerosmith. But now, the approximately $1 million annual license will not be repaid any longer, this being the primary reason for closure and renovation. And for those who are so disappointed in the retheme as well as the coaster enthusiasts out there, here's an outdoor version of the ride. I don't know if that makes you feel better, but it exists. And then there's that French knockoff that we don't talk about. I will concede that I never really paid much attention to this ride for as popular as it was the past 27 years. However, after further review of the storyline and experience, it's a shame that I'll never get to ride this in arguably its best form. And I could see some nostalgists for the coaster feeling some sweet emotion and entering some seasons of wither following the transformation of such a beloved attraction. Now, something we can expect from this renovation is likely not much more than a reskin and a thematic touch-up. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? This will apparently include a scooter pre-show, a touch-up of the limo trains, and a soundtrack overhaul featuring the Electric Mayhem. Your last chance to ride Rock 'n' Roller Coaster in its original Aerosmith form has already passed, while version 2 is set for a summer debut. Finally, we have a duo of correlating attractions that are both shutting down due to the closure of the theme park they call home. The attractions in question are located at Wild Waves Theme Park. In a December 2025 press release from the park, they stated that 2026 will be its final operating season, from opening day taking place on May 23rd to the Day of Reckoning on November 1st. The causation of the shutdown can be sourced back to millions of dollars in losses and increased operation costs ever since the COVID-19 pandemic. with this park joining quite a few other recently defunct major theme parks and sharing a graveyard and falling just short of a 50-year anniversary, Washington State losing its largest joint theme park and water park has got to sting for Pacific Northwest coaster fans. The state is soon to lose precisely 40% of its lineup of extant roller coasters with just this closure, while most amusement-heavy states house coaster lineups stronger in numbers by the dozens. Shifting our attention to the park's small array of coasters, you can expect to see Kiddie Coaster, Klondike Gold Rusher, Timberhawk, and Wild Thing shut down for at least the time being. The two lesser coasters are simple Kiddie Coasters and Wild Mouse Coasters respectively, so we will hone in on the big boys that may or may not bite the dust soon. Wild Wave's last major addition occurred over 20 years ago in 2003 when they partnered up with American manufacturer SNS Sansei to build a wooden coaster? That's right, this was one of only 4 wooden coasters the company has ever built in its lifetime. Given this experience discrepancy, the ride is nowhere near the thrill caliber of woodies such as Colossus at Six Flags Qiddiya or Thunderhead at Dollywood. However, the 2,600 feet of track and 50-mile-per-hour top speed easily make Timberhawk the must-ride attraction to all park-goers. And then there's Wild Thing, a run-of-the-mill aerodynamics looping coaster that has the only 3 inversions in the park. This attraction initially premiered at Rhode Island's now-defunct but long-running Rocky Point Park in its final 12 years from 1984 to 1996. After the state's headlining amusement destination closed due to severe financial struggles, Wild Thing headed to Washington in 1997, where it's been turning thrill seekers upside down ever since. And now it will soon undergo the same question of fate as it did 30 years ago, with its current home closing due to similar reasons as its first. So will any of these attractions be saved from the scrapyard? While I do see Kiddie Coaster and Klondike Gold Rusher almost certainly being sold off to interested parks, Wild Thing and Timberhawk are both interesting cases. Wild Thing has already been relocated before, so I believe there is a high likelihood that it will be added to another small-scaled park that needs it. Despite its forgettably short ride experience, perhaps it could be moved within the state to Washington State Fair or nearby to Oaks Amusement Park in Portland, Oregon. However, I can't say the same for Timberhawk. Since the era of wooden coaster rebirth of the 1980s, the revelation that packing, shipping, and rebuilding every board and nail of an existing woody is a splintering process financially. It is much more optimal to demolish said woody and construct an entirely new attraction, with the rare exception made to some extremely iconic ones. In fact, since 1994, I can only find 3 thrill-oriented wooden coasters that have been successfully relocated. Timberhawk straddles the line of being a wooden coaster not worth riding home about while also showing potential of a relocation. Unfortunately, there are multiple woodies such as Megaphobia, Arkansas Twister, and Rampage that are all standing but not operating, with seemingly none of them in a hurry to be sold or reopened, and they are all arguably superior to Timberhawk. Because of this, I just don't see any park spending more money attempting to relocate the so-called Ride of Prey when they could purchase a brand new coaster, possibly for even cheaper and with less hassle. Even fellow SNS alumni Hellcat is in the same position that its cousin is soon to be in, and that hasn't been relocated since it ceased operation in 2023. So overall, I could see every operating coaster at Wild Waves get sold and moved to different parks except for ironically its current headlining attraction. So what do you think? Will we see these jeopardized attractions saved, or will we see them make a permanent visit to the scrapyard? To wrap this one up, a quick honorable mention goes to Speedy Gonzales at Six Flags Magic Mountain, which will be closing during 2026 as well, but is merely one of the park's many kid-sized coasters. We will likely see this ride relocated, but rest in peace to the amazing Looney Tunes thematic atmosphere of this ride. Breathtakingly beautiful indeed. Signing off for now, this has been Storm, and I'll see you coaster lovers next time.